Chapter 7. There are no dangerous thoughts. Thinking itself is dangerous. Hannah Arendt, German political theorist. Anna said nothing about her brother on the walk to school the next morning. I didn't think she would. He lived at the university, and it would probably be a while before anyone in her family knew he'd left. I wondered if Peter had left behind a note of explanation, or if he would send word to them once he was free. I wondered how they'd feel afterward, proud of his courage, or ashamed that he'd abandoned them. And I wanted to know if Peter would ever look back with regret for what he had done. Would I, if it were me who left? I glanced at Anna's cheerful expression and felt a rash of guilt for knowing what she did not. "It's just as cold today," she said. "Hopefully it will begin to feel like spring soon." The weather was trivial. So were the books in her hands, and her annoyance with the boy who pulled her hair when the teacher wasn't looking. Anna wasn't even thinking about her brother today, and all I could think about was whether he was still alive. "Are you feeling okay, Gerda?" Anna often preferred to interpret my moodiness as illness. It was the way she tried to understand me. "Springtime, sure." Was that even what she'd asked? My mind was at Checkpoint Charlie, where Peter would have crossed into the west. Fritz said the car had been specially designed to hide him, but the border guards always searched carefully, and they had dogs and maybe other detection devices as well. I tried to picture Peter sitting in a coffee shop with the other students right now, laughing at how easy it had all been. But I couldn't laugh. Not yet. "What if you had the chance to go west?" I suddenly asked Anna. "Would you?" Anna stopped and glanced around to see if anyone was nearby. When she was sure we were alone, she started walking again, then said, "Don't ask questions like that. Don't even think questions like that." It was wise advice, though I never could stop my thoughts from coming. They just did, all the time. Maybe I wasn't trying hard enough to stop them. I knew I wasn't. As we approached the same area where I had seen Dominic yesterday, I looked around for any border police. At least for now, the street was empty. Then I turned toward the platform on the west, but nobody was there. Still, I shuffled my feet and walked slower, just in case. Anna seemed to know what I was doing and grabbed my arm. "Please don't, Gerda. He won't come back after seeing you get in trouble yesterday." Maybe not, but I still had to hope. "Help me keep an eye out for guards and we won't get in trouble," I said. Anna huffed, but she began looking around. We couldn't walk as slowly as I wanted. Other students were on our heels trying to get to school before this cold rain turned to snow. I kept my head down, except for the occasional peek to my right. There was nothing, and then nothing again. And then just before we passed by, Dominic's blonde head rose into sight. I stopped, but didn't wave. Anna gasped and told me not to look. I ignored that and replied, "He's my brother. I bet Officer Mueller has family on the other side too. You can't split a city in half and not divide everyone in some way." Dom didn't wave this time. Instead, he motioned at someone below him to come up. I barely breathed as I anticipated who it must be. My father. His head rose higher with every step up the platform ladder. He wore glasses now, and his light brown hair seemed thinner. It seemed odd to finally see him, looking much as I remembered him, yet it had been so long I felt I scarcely knew him anymore. He waved only once and wiped a tear from his eyes with the back of his hand. I think I needed to see that, to know he missed me as desperately as I missed him. But then he did something I didn't expect. He danced. Not the formal dances the adults knew, but the silly dance he used to do for me all those years ago, the one from The Farmer in March. He started by pantomiming the farmer's wife telling the maids to get back to work. His movements were from the song's second verse. We had sung this so many times together when I was younger that the lyrics and actions were etched into my brain. It still ran through my head sometimes at night when he wasn't there to tuck me in. They have a lot to do in the home and the garden, the song went. They dig and they rake and they sing a song. My mouth formed the words even as he performed, and the cheery tune rang in my mind. With that second line, my father pretended to hold a shovel and dig, but when he should have moved to the rake, he only continued the digging motions, looking up at me very deliberately, and then made a silly bow, just as he had when we used to do the song together years earlier. I smiled and acted out an applause, just as I used to do. Then he motioned that I should leave and keep on walking. I nodded obediently, faced forward again, and then Anna and I walked away. "You could have gotten us arrested just now," she scolded me. "And for what? A silly dance?" "Papa was playful like that. It used to be my favorite song." But Anna shook her head. "He wouldn't have you take that risk just to show you a dance." No, he wouldn't. It took me the whole school day to think about it. While the others dutifully studied geometry, Russian vocabulary, and whatever else we learned that day, I considered Anna's suggestion that perhaps there had been a message in his words. Why had Papa chosen to pantomime from the middle of the song? If he had wanted me to think about this time of year, March, then the beginning of the song would have made more sense. And if he had danced just to bring up the fun memories, the final verse was the silliest to perform, so why choose the middle? I figured it out during reading time that afternoon, 45 minutes in which I could not recall a single word I'd read. It came down to the mistake Papa had made in his performance. Where he should have changed from a shovel to a rake, he only kept digging. And that was the end of his dance. He was digging. Papa wanted me to dig. But why?